Is Tears of the Kingdom already getting boring? I've been getting barbarous with this new Zelda game over the past 2 weeks when this thought struck me. It just hit me in the middle of climbing up a giant mountain. What was this intrusive idea? Isn't this supposed to be easily the game of the year? 2023's Elden Ring? My brain was getting rattled and I just could not handle it. A quick Google search and several Reddit threads showed me that there was a backlash, small, but a backlash nonetheless, forming against this game. People were giving up on it and I was shocked. I had to figure out what was going on for you. I wanted to know what is at the heart of this phenomenon. I've played enough of Tears of the Kingdom to where I feel like I've experienced enough of a vertical slice to at least have experienced a little bit of everything that this game has to offer. That took tens of hours until I felt comfortable putting out a video that had my initial impressions, which is really saying something, that it took so much time in order to experience a little bit of everything, and we'll speak more on that in a little bit. I need to start off with my initial impressions of the game, which I think sets the stage more long-term for how the experience of playing this game rolls out. I love the opening to this game. Similar to a Hollywood movie, you are dropped into an ongoing plot where you are side by side with Zelda as Link, already mid-adventure. With a naturally contrarian personality, I often find it amusing when a Zelda game starts off slow, having you bumble around a small village for hours like in Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. Although I must admit, it does feel like a little bit of a sellout move. I still really like it here. The cadence between Link and Zelda as you adventure into the unknown feels surreal, and the title already starts leaning into the sci-fi, which I love. I love it when Zelda does this, with tiny morsels of intrigue that really pulled me in. I was down and ready. Of course, good things can't always stay for long with Link and Zelda, as Zelda gets spirited away or sci-fi'd away or whatever the heck ends up happening to her, setting up the opening premise of the game. Damn. This is definitely not a buddy game. Sorry, it's not eco. That's probably a good thing, but here we are. You end up getting dumped onto the tutorial island in your skivvies, more or less, and good luck, buddy. Talking about this opening area is interesting. Its whole take on game design itself is a fascinating statement that flies in the face of many other titles. Let's state the basic facts on this one. Tears of the Kingdom is an open world game. You're dropped into it. As I said, you have a basic action-adventure moveset. Eventually, you find a map. You have main objectives, side stories, stuff to find, equipment to gather, collectibles, sectioned off challenge areas, and all the other odds and ends that you always find in open world games. Tears of the Kingdom slams you with systems. These systems are often glossed over or not explained as fully as they possibly could. The level that this game is introducing you to these systems is fast and hard, often before they even feel relevant to actually learn. It feels like that definitely from a design standpoint, the developers made a conscious decision to hold your hand less than other games do. This feels intentional. There is a lot of what feels like random crap to start remembering when the game first hits. I've seen less beloved games get criticized for dropping this amount of stuff, if not less, to memorize all on the player within the opening section. Zelda, because it is what it is getting a little bit of a free pass on this one. This is not necessarily my criticism, though. Other people may have varying opinions, but this will lead into what might be a criticism. So 20 minutes in, the first set of training wheels come off and you're dumped into this starting zone. There's a door that you need to open for storyline reasons. Who the heck knows where Zelda is? And some cryptic, otherworldly NPCs tell you to go beat some shrines, and maybe that will give you the magic power to open doors. Have fun, buddy. The first one's pointed out to you, it's just right over there, but then you're told to go wander about and maybe you'll be able to find the rest. This area is big, and so if you're prone to exploring, the tutorial can take many hours. There are collectibles on the island too, so you are encouraged to explore. There's a good chance that if you're geographically challenged, sort of like me, you can end up getting pretty lost. In any other open world game like this, there would be markers automatically placed onto your map with each location that you need to go to, including possibly the collectibles. If this were another game, hitting the shoulder button would cause Navi's cousin to pop out of nowhere and start flying in the suggested direction for where you should be going, leaving a golden trail so that you literally cannot get lost. That's not happening in this game. Nintendo, who has the reputation for holding the hands of players through games, is holding your hand a lot less in this game. You're eventually destined to hit the shrines if you keep playing. It just might take a while. Meanwhile, you're getting slammed with these systems. You have the ability to manipulate objects in a 3D space, to fuse items, and ascend through structures above you, which feels kind of strange. You can fuse items to your sword, shield, and bow. Each of these have a durability, and you're cycling through equipment non-stop. You're collecting tons of items that may or may not be useful. You're introduced to systems where you need to collect proper noun items to exchange later for other proper noun items where you don't even truly know what they all are just yet. You're learning processes for the future, for functionality that will be useful to you in the future. I can follow pretty much any game, so I'm cool with this, but man, I really had to look live to get over the initial hurdle of figuring out all of this stuff, shoving it into my muscle memory, and gelling with all of it. It was not really a turn your brain off type of experience, especially up front. There's a body temperature system that hits you pretty quickly. Yeah, it's the same as in Breath of the Wild, but it's still hitting you right up front, and you need to cook food in order to keep your internal temperature warm. Holy crap, my Breath of the Wild memories are pretty distant at this point, and I found myself a little frustrated for a few moments trying to figure out what the cook button was. Did I miss unlocking some ability up front? What the heck is going on here? There's no contextual button press for when you get in front of a fire. No, you have to pause, go to the inventory section, click the button to hold the first food item, which is a little confusing because you're technically already holding it, right? And then you have to hold the rest of the food items while within the menu, unpause, and then drop it into the direction of a pot that's set over a fire. So here's the question. Is what I am saying here a complaint? Not entirely. This is really nothing new in my breadth of experiences. What I'm trying to illustrate though is that there is a lot here all up front, and it's more than in other games. It isn't handholdy, and it's easy to have a couple of how do I cook situations, possibly not specifically cooking, but you're likely to have some of them in regards to something else. It can be a pain in the ass. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those Dark Souls needs an easy mode type. I think that it's a good thing that there are a variety of different styles of games where some of them are a pain in the ass up front, or just a pain in the ass in general, and that some games are frustratingly hard because it's providing that variety. Like I said, there is good argument that Tears of the Kingdom needs to do something to separate itself from other open world titles. However, none of that changes the fact that Tears of the Kingdom is kind of a pain in the ass. All of this extends to beyond the tutorial island. Now, with the additional stuff like horse maintenance, building, solving issues in towns, and collecting more crap, you could say that this is the game graciously giving you tons of stuff to have fun with. It's an endless sandbox. There is so much game that you can have fun with, all before you even begin to consider focusing on the main quests. In these types of games, I feel like I like to have my bearings straight. Suddenly, I'm finding myself searching around the area of the game for towers to unlock each section on my map. Also, some of these enemies are really kicking my ass, and the stamina sucks in the beginning too, meaning that you can barely run and barely climb. So now I'm trying to hit as many shrines as possible. Completing a shrine gets you a blessing of light. Each time you collect 4 blessings of light, you can exchange them for a sliver more of potential stamina or a heart for your health. Welcome to the grind. So here's how I started to feel exhausted by this game. Tears of the Kingdom has you starting out feeling like a weak sack of crap. I'm saying it, it's true. My real world ass can run longer than Link. Lots of enemies one-shot you, and any equipment that you find breaks almost instantly, or at least very fast. The game incentivizes you to start correcting these problems, and the way that it feels like to me, I need to be correcting these problems so that I can feel like a proper hero, a proper video game hero, once I start to actually make my way through what is the real part of the story. Making your way about, doing all of these little open world video game things takes a very long time. On one hand, the gradual visible accomplishments of having a stronger character does feel good, but on the other hand, especially after many hours, when I'm climbing for minutes at a time, inch by inch, very slowly up the side of a mountain to get to my next location, I know where I'm going to go. I will get there eventually. I might occasionally fall, which is annoying, but I know how to get there. I start to wonder just what the heck I'm doing. Why is this a part of the gameplay? Why is this pain necessary to get to the fun stuff? It's like, where is the fun part? With the freedom that this game gives you, it's easy to turn this into a series of slow slogs, especially if you have some OCD tendencies like myself. Here I am, tens of hours deep. I'm not doing any of the cool building stuff that you see in clips getting shared because they take a long time to do. I don't have all of the stuff yet, and there's limited practicality early on. But here I am, still searching for the collectibles. There's an entire underground section of the main map where you can't see without constantly throwing items to get a low level of light, where it seems like the sole purpose is to grind for resources. There's also the entire sky section that's even harder to wrap your brain around navigation-wise. There is a massive amount of situational equipment and outfits that require time-consuming planning and searching. There is so much here. It's at this point that I started thinking about making this video, where I'm just slowly climbing to who the heck knows where to get my next doodad. I knew that this video would probably gather some negative attention. However, even though this is an impressions video, I knew that it wouldn't be fair to the game if I didn't complete at least one of the main 4 story threads. So with that in mind, I hit the brakes on my endless collecting and decided to go for it with the Wind Temple. I loved it. Finally, I'm back to the action-adventure title that I thought that I was playing. I got my equipment to be able to handle the cold, and now I'm searching for my bird buddy Tulin, who got a little too headstrong and decided to go fight off some evil on his own. Doesn't this bird understand how weak he is? The game still doesn't hold my hand in the same way that so many other titles would, but that's okay. Rather than walk toward the glowing orb on your map with the option of the cousin fairy popping out of nowhere to light the way, I'm given direction like walk up this big ass mountain and keep an eye out for the bonfire, which is located near the cave entrance. I suddenly started having flashbacks to boomers trying to give me driving directions and not even thinking to give me an actual exact address to type into my phone's GPS. That's the way to get vertigo. But joking aside, I did appreciate it. It was a slight more pain in the ass, a theme to this video, but I also felt a little more immersed. Finally, after finding my bro, Tulin, my bird buddy, we scaled these awesome structures in the sky featuring quality and exciting game design, awesome level design, and then found our way to the Wind Temple. The Wind Temple itself was fun, slightly less of a pain in the ass than I thought that it might be as such a large location, and suddenly I was enjoying the heck out of this game once again. Here is what Tears of the Kingdom is doing. It gives you tons of freedom. That includes giving you the freedom to do too much stuff in a row that makes for a boring time. More controlled game design will often take you through peaks and valleys, high points and low points, and fast points and slow points. The idea is to create the appropriate momentum that waxes and wanes, with fast excitement followed by slower moments so that you don't get too overwhelmed. With Tears of the Kingdom, if you are of a certain personality type, my personality type, with how weak the game starts you off, you are feeling inclined to do a lot of what will turn out to be kind of boring stuff. For me, that was climbing mountain after mountain, very slowly. My knee-jerk reaction is that these moments of boredom were my fault, which, let me remind you, did not ever hit hard enough for me to actually stop playing this game. It's my fault, I felt, that I couldn't properly space out my activities due to my own mental weirdness. However, I was then finding myself doubting that feeling. Why shouldn't the game be invisibly guiding me, at least a little bit? Shouldn't it somehow be thinking of how to provide more incentive to do more of the fun stuff? My other big question though is, for the fun stuff that I did eventually do, would it have been as fun if I didn't put in the groundwork to have a more properly loaded out Link? With this discussion, we need to address the phenomenon of all of the item duplication that's going on with this game at this point in time. Duplicating a sword, shield, or bow takes about 30 seconds per duplication. Duplicating items takes about 3 to 5 seconds per duplication, on average, arguably. The community is going wild with duplication, which normally in these types of games feels like cheating. I get the vibe though that a lot more people seem to be open to the idea. It's interesting to explore why that might be. It's my theory that in some areas with some of the systems, Nintendo might have misjudged just how annoying certain aspects of the game are. In a bow and arrow fight, you end up having your bow break after what feels like just a minute or two. Same for the sword. How about shield surfing, especially when you fuse your shield with a cart and end up making a skateboard? If you aren't skateboarding on snow, if you're using just a regular shield that you can find, your shield will end up breaking after only about 10 seconds. The excitement that I had was crushed almost instantaneously upon realizing how impractical this feature was without a lot more forethought into what I'm fusing to what. It kinda killed the vibe just a little bit. What I'm trying to illustrate is how through normal play, the drip feed of equipment as well as item and money is so limited that what is normally considered a cheat, what is a cheat, feels like almost a fair counterbalance, which also feels a little dirty. It's kind of like cheating against a partner that is already cheating against you. I guess where everyone is still having fun though, it's a strange analogy, but I think it works. One must remember, I am not experiencing Tears of the Kingdom in a silo. I'm older now. At a younger age, I'd have no concern over where the actual end to this title is. Picking up the game for the day would mean going on yet another random adventure in what would feel like almost an endless playground. Trekking out to a collectible that I hear about on the playground or, I don't know, TikTok would be its own complete whole adventure that would take me maybe an hour or two before I have to put the title down for the night. I'd be making up my own story in my head where there isn't one being provided to me for why I needed to go through the motions to collect all the different outfits and gain all of the different types of equipment. Whether or not I was making headway on the story would be of very little concern. When I was young, before I could even read, when the family ended up acquiring the original Legend of Zelda on the NES, there was a time where I was barely aware of what I was supposed to be doing in that game, that I was supposed to be going through a series of dungeons in order while collecting the proper items in order to be able to do so. I was having a hoot of a time just traversing from the left side of the map to the right side of the map and then back again. I made my own fun. Nowadays, I'm so much more methodically minded. I think of side quests literally as programmed side quests created by developers, created to sometimes pad out the experience for me to knock out in order, with NPCs that have dialogue written by somebody who is unrelated to the main story, and none of it really means that much. When I'm in side quest mode, assuming I don't get distracted by other side quests, which does happen with this game, I'm just going from point A to point B, getting things done, and then moving on to the next. I find myself looking at my list of objectives like a laundry list of things that I need to do. Every big game feels like it has this kind of design. Elden Ring, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Like a Dragon Ishin, Octopath Traveler 2, and so on, all had me doing a variation of this. Enjoying a game like I did in the old days is just so much harder now. I think to myself how all of the people who got reviews out day one or even week one weren't playing this game like a normal person with the ideal approach. I feel like I'm not even doing that. Making this even more difficult, the game does reuse the map from Breath of the Wild. Other games have also taken a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild, including Genshin Impact and Immortals Phoenix Rising. As unideal as it may be, all of this context gets mixed into the experience soup, flavoring just how good of a time you can possibly have with this specific title, Tears of the Kingdom. All that said, I'm still really enjoying The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Don't get me wrong. I am enjoying it more than I did 10 hours ago. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm not getting bored anymore, although I'm still barely scraping the surface of all that I can do in the underground, and it still sounds like a miserable task. I think to myself too, perhaps with some of the building, I wish that there was a garage and some other sort of quality of life functionality surrounding that. I know I haven't unlocked everything in that area, but I do think that there is a little bit of room for improvement with that component. 100%ing this title does not sound like fun to me at all. I'm not sure if I'm going to like this game more than Elden Ring, the official third best game of 2022. I hate comparing games to From Software titles, so I hate myself right now, but Tears of the Kingdom does remind me of that game at least a little bit. The jury is still out on whether or not this will be my favorite title this year. We will see on that one. One last thing, off the cuff here, side rant time. I saw that the Angry Video Game Nerd talked about how he was disappointed that the graphics weren't more like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, what's going on, buddy? What are you talking about? The visual design here is wonderful. James Bimmy, you need to get some better opinions because that one just kind of sucks. So let me know what you think of this game, if you're playing it, if you want to play it, and let's talk some Zelda. Be sure to like this video as well, share it with a friend, get your friend to subscribe, and also, most importantly, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.